Very good. Ready. All right. Well, welcome and good afternoon, everyone, to this discussion and presentation on careers in information and communications technology and digital media. You'll hear that as ICT Digital Media. So, why is this so exciting? Well, technology is everywhere. And I've put up there clouds because I know a lot of you are hearing about the cloud. Well, that is where technology is migrating, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in this presentation, but it is everywhere. And because it's everywhere, it needs people. It needs people to design it, build it, use it, support it, and protect it. We'll talk about that. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Compton, California, in a single parent household. I was the oldest, and I was our family's first college graduate. I got my, and with a lot of encouragement from my father, who was really big on going out and getting as much education as possible because he only had an 8th grade education. I got my bachelor's of science in applied math, and back in the day, you can tell that I'm a little older, but back in the day, computer science was called applied math. And then I went on and got my MBA and my doctorate of management. I spent 30 years in tech, and I started my career as an intern. I was an intern during the summers at IBM while I was going to college. And then when I got out of college, I went into computer hardware and software design, but I gotta admit that wasn't a very welcoming environment in those days for someone like me. So I went on to the business side of technology, and I led customer-facing organizations for both computer hardware and software companies for over 25 years. I've been working in the community college workforce development and career pathways program for 10 years. And I tell you, I love what I do because so many of the students that I work with just seem so much like me. And I have a passion around wanting to see more women and students of color into these fabulous careers. So I really get the opportunity to do that here in my work. So, why choose information technology? Well, the Bay Area, I think you guys are, I don't have to say, but the Bay Area is the center of the tech industry, like a lot of high paying jobs. And then there are programs in our community colleges that you can complete in 6 months that can get you into entry level positions in these jobs. And there is unlimited potential because we talk about the tech companies like the Googles and the Apples and the Ciscos and stuff, but everybody needs technology. It's not just the tech companies, the financial organizations, retail, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, everybody needs technology. So that is why it is such a great opportunity for getting jobs here in the Bay Area. And here are some examples. A computer information systems. In other words, you're what you're doing is maybe managing or setting up those systems, those sets of occupations. Right now in the Bay Area, that last data that we have from 2019, there were over 14,000 openings. And the minimum wage for those positions is, a little over $32 an hour. If you get into computer science, now computer science is around, hardware design, software development. Last year, there were 12,000 openings, and the median wage is $58 an hour. Cybersecurity, which is really big. And I gotta say that this number here at 5,000, 5,500 is low. I mean, cybersecurity, and by the way, this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I don't know if you guys had heard about that, but cybersecurity is big. And this number is low, I really think. Like I said, is 2019 data. $41 an hour is the median wage. I talked to you about cloud computing. cloud computing occupations, and I'll share a little bit more about this, but you guys have probably heard about Amazon Web Services and Google Plus. Those are all cloud types of technologies, and they need people to support and build those environments. Last year, 6,000 openings, $57 an hour. Game development and simulation occupations. I probably don't have to tell you a lot about that. We see that everywhere. Virtual reality, augmented reality, 13,000 openings with an annual median wage of $58 an hour. Data and business analyst occupations. You hear a lot about AI and things like that. Those are people that really get involved in managing data, analyzing data. A lot of times they get involved in doing, data analysis for businesses as well. There are about 1,800 openings last year, $53 an hour. Applied graphics design. These are people that do website design, design of the kind of graphics you see on your applications, and even sometimes in audio visual. Those are have a lot of opportunity too. 2,000 jobs open and $29 an hour. So you see that these are really, really decent paying jobs. Some of them very, very well paying jobs, but these are just examples. So how do you decide, which type of job do you want to pursue? So let's talk a little bit about that. It depends on what you like to do. And in my presentation today, I'm gonna talk about these 5 ways and the 5 things that people do in ICT digital media. Either they design something, and once it's designed, they build it. And then after it's built, somebody has to use it and apply it. And then once it's out there and people are using it, you need people that are gonna support it. And now that you have all of these people using it and watching it, you now have to protect it. So I'm going to go through this presentation looking at the jobs related to those 5 areas. So if you're thinking about, well, which one? I mean, do I want to design? Do I want to use? Do I want to support? Well, which one? Well, if you're a creative person and you like using your imagination, you're artistic, or you like to build things, then designing or building technology is something that you should think about, that pathway. If you like helping other people, then you might consider, well, how do I put together technology so that people can use it effectively? And then once they're using it, how do I make sure that they do it smoothly and don't have any problems, or when they have problems, I can help them? Then you might think about supporting things. If you like to solve problems, then you might like the design part of ICT digital media, because a lot of times you're designing things to solve a particular problem or a need or an opportunity. Also, people that do support are very good at solving problems, as well as people who like to fix things, very good at doing support, right? If you like to build things, well, obviously you want to build, okay? If you like to create and other things, and you're creative and you like to take things apart and put them back together, then building technology is something that you might want to consider. Now, if you like investigating things, if you're one of those type of people that loves mysteries and you love those kind of stories and TV shows about, figuring out mysteries and problems and, crime investigations and things like that, then you want to protect. And that is where we'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity. But, as all of you guys have probably heard about, our technology has vulnerabilities. And so we need people that can figure things out relative to how to protect it. And they often do that by figuring out first how to hack it. So those of you that like to break things, then you might look at how do you protect technology. So any questions, Joelle, at all so far?
No, I don't see any questions in the question and answer, but again, for our participants, if you do have any questions at any time, write them down in the Q&A. And when there's a pause, I'll relay them over to Olivia and she can answer those questions. Any questions you have are great questions.
Yes, indeed, because if you have them, somebody else does too. Okay. All right, I'll move on. Okay. So if you like to design, then here are some examples of jobs that are very much available. There's web graphic design. In other words, that is designing websites, not only the actually designing and putting them together, but also how they look. We call that the user experience, user interface design. I know a lot of times, we go to websites or we go to pages and we're, even using our phones and what our social media our interfaces look like. Somebody has to design those. Somebody has to create what they call the look and feel and how that presents to any device, no matter what it's on, whether it's on a laptop or a full screen computer, or whether it's on your phone or your iPad or whatever. Someone has to design the look and feel of those applications. And those are usually UI, UX designers, web graphic designers, also game design. So a lot of that has a lot of graphical kind of interfaces that need development. If you like to build things, then cloud computing, application and app developers. So why is cloud computing a building type of job? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that later, but remember I mentioned to you that, everything now is going into the cloud. And what that really means is that, instead of people having large servers and computer rooms and operations within their companies or within their colleges or their schools, it's actually being shared someplace. And all we know is that we can access that power, that computing from the internet. We don't have to have it anywhere near us. It doesn't have to be housed someplace in our business or our school. It's a shared environment that anyone can get to with the proper credentials to that computing power. But somebody has to build it, right? Somebody has to put it there. Somebody has to make sure that all the functionality that I want when I turn on my computer is ready to go. And it's the same for applications, right? So somebody has to build all of these great things that we do. And that is, again, someone that really likes to put together things. And there's different ways that you can do that as well. Now, if you are the type of person that then likes to use technology, you're not interested in designing it or building it, you just want to apply it to what you have to get done. There is a new term that we call the business information professional. And let me give you an example of that. Think about all of these folks that we have to do everything now over Zoom, or we have to do everything now over Microsoft Teams or Google Plus. But who gets all this stuff set up, right? Who has to know all of these different apps for running my business or my meetings, keeping track of time and information, etc. We call those folk business information professionals because they have learned all the technology that businesses and schools and public sector organizations like, the fire department or the mayor's office or whatever, all of these folk use technology and we need people to support it. So those are business information professionals. I mentioned that before, for cloud computing, it has to be built. Well, once it's built, somebody has to watch it, administer it, give people access to it, update it, Those folk are called cloud administrators. They basically are making sure that all of the folk that use, like say, for example, that use Google Plus or Google Cloud, they have to make sure that everybody is prepared, everybody has what they need, so that, you know, you get your business done, you get what's done. So those are cloud administrators.
So Olivia, we have a couple of questions that have come up so far.
Sure.
One attendee is asking that they heard that UX and UI are quite different. What are the differences? What differences do they have?
Well, you know, user experience begins usually with, and again, I am not, I'm a jack of all trades, so I know a little bit about everything. You're absolutely right. There is two phases, but they do usually go together. Okay, the user experience part is almost like doing storyboarding, if you know what that means. Those of you that have done Adobe design or whatever, that you know that before you actually start creating your web page, or you know what you're creating, is that you first want to know, like, well, what is it going to be like when that user turns on and opens their computer and clicks on, you know, your application or your website? What do you want their experience to be? So that's the first part of the design. And then once you have got agreement on the user experience, the user interface is when you actually start to do the designing. You want the user interface to reflect what the user experience is going to be. You know, how many times have you gone to a website looking for something and you just couldn't find it? And eventually, after, you know, browsing around and, you know, just bumping into different things, you eventually find it. Well, that is a site that didn't have a really good user experience step, because they didn't think about what was it going to be like to come to that site, or what was going to be like to actually turn that game on. What do you want them to see, right? So that's the difference. So they kind of, you know, it's a two-step process of user experience and developing the user interface. Is there others, Joelle? Okay.
The other question has to do with community college internships for students, but if you want to finish the next two, support and protect, and then we can probably talk a little bit about internships.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So anyway, so support, users tech support, I tell you, this particular area right now is probably one of the easiest ones to get into, because many jobs in ICT digital media at the entry level start with helping users. In other words, how to, you know, some people in some organizations, everybody uses a computer. So what do you do when it's time to either upgrade to the next version of iOS, or you have a new program that people are getting used to and they're having difficulty in figuring out how to do those type of thing, or maybe they're having access. You know, everybody I know now that we're all Zooming, network support has been very important. So these are the folks that actually help us make sure that our experience in using computers and using the network is as smooth as possible. And when it's not, they help us out. Protect is the area of information. The general umbrella for protection of technology is called information security. And there are lots of different roles in information security. You'll hear it a lot referred to as cybersecurity, but some of the roles are cybersecurity analysts. This is the person that usually works in these big network centers, works in the cloud, for lack of better words. They are in those environments where they are watching. They're watching what's going on, and if they see anything suspicious, they are the ones that or begin to analyze what's actually happening. If there is a breach, they're going to figure out how it happened, where did the penetrators come in, etc. They have a cybersecurity analysts have kind of a combination of the other three that I'm mentioning here. They're really good at penetration testing, and by penetration testing, these are people that are basically what they're trying to do is figure out, okay, how can I break this? How can I penetrate this network, break into this software? So those are penetration testers. You sometimes call them, there's a term I hear that they call them bounty hunters. In other words, there are a lot of people out there that's all that they do. They'll try to maybe hack into, but their favorite thing is trying to figure out, I'm going to figure out how I can bomb a Zoom call. And so what they'll do is they'll do everything they possibly can to break Zoom, and then they will contact Zoom and say, hey, guess what I did? These guys are called like bounty hunters. So they're paid, and then these companies will pay them because they found something that they didn't know about, okay, to get that information. So to do that, you have to learn how to do penetration testing. Digital forensics is coming behind, let's say someone, behind the event, where there has been a breach, or maybe your computer, your laptop or your computer at home has been infected by some malware. So these are the folks that come in after the fact and try to figure out what happened, okay? And then finally, ethical hackers are very similar to penetration testers, except they're usually internal, and they are basically already working for the company that needs something to protect. And so they are inside, saying, okay, I'm going to hack my own company, right? I'm going to figure out, okay, where are my vulnerabilities? They're sometimes called vulnerability testers. So anyway, and these are just a few. And you can tell that, that this area, cybersecurity, is the one I'm most excited about. I've been working in this area for a couple of years in the education side, and there's just so much opportunity here.
So Olivia, there was a quick question. I know you probably could get into which colleges offer which programs and certifications, but my understanding is that community colleges do have internships depending on industry partnerships.
Yes, and toward the end of the presentation, I have some examples of the colleges that have all of these programs, and we are very, very focused and keen on creating work-based learning for our students in cybersecurity. We're working on internships right now in partnerships with a couple of employers and employer organizations. There are also a couple of cybersecurity apprenticeship programs in collaboration with City College of San Francisco, and they're talking to the City and County of San Francisco about hiring a cybersecurity apprenticeship under this program. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the programs toward the end when we get to talking about the colleges and where they are.
I think there was a regional director that also offered cybersecurity boot camps for high school and high school teachers. And
yes, that's the other thing too. I should mention, and I think I mentioned it toward the end, but if you haven't done, every summer, all summer long, there are cyber camps, and I got involved with one this summer, and it was just so much fun. And basically, you are being prepared to be a hacker, doing things like penetration testers and hackers, and they call them capture the flag contests. And so everybody in the cyber camp activities, you learn to set up your environment. In other words, you learn how to set up your own virtual machine, which is really cool. And then you have to start protecting your machine from other people that are trying to attack you. And you get points by, you know, capturing the flag, which means that you went in and you took someone's flag that they were trying to protect. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and it really gives you a really good introduction to cybersecurity and what it's like to work in that environment. If you're interested in that, we start announcing the schedule early spring semester, and the camps start as soon as school is out in May, early June, and they go all summer long. They just keep doing them. And the camps are, I think they're like a week long, but we just do them continuously so that we can get as many students engaged as possible. If you're interested in it, you can contact me, and I can put you in touch with the regional director that leads that program.
We'll also give that information in our website and my webpage at the www.sccoe.org.
Right. Any more?
They're asking about camps in San Jose, but I think if you put your email address on there, we can get that information.
The camps are virtual, you guys. You can be anywhere. All right. So yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that virtual environment also toward the end of the presentation. But yeah, the camps are virtual. We made that switch this summer, and it worked out very well. Unfortunately, you know, you don't get the t-shirt and the food, but yeah. All right. Let's talk about the career pathways in the community colleges. There are, and I'll give you examples. First let me talk about what I mean by pathway. So, you know, if you're in high school, you've probably done, hopefully, you know, what we were mentioning to you is the cyber camps are meant for high school, and we do have a junior cyber camp that we do for middle school. Okay. Some of you may be taking some programming classes in high school and learning about Google Docs and web development. So if you're starting to do some of these ICT digital media type courses and academies and programs, you're on a good start. You're on a good start, because now the next step is that you can consider coming to the community colleges or going for a 4-year degree. But in the community colleges, the cool thing is that you can earn what we call program certificates that prepare you to take or sit for what's called industry certifications. So for example, what I mean by an industry certification is that, you know, Google has a Google IT certification. Amazon has a AWS Cloud Administrator certification. So these are industry recognized certifications that you can actually go out and get an entry-level job while you're going to community college. That is the whole intent, because we know, well, for a lot of our students here in the Bay Area community colleges, they're already doing some kind of work, or maybe they have to work. So we want to be able to prepare our students while they're working on their AS degree, or while they're working on their degree for transfer to CSU, that they can maybe start doing some work as well, start to get some work experience. So that is the first step of the pathway. And that's why I have that arrow there to employers, because if you can earn some of these industry certifications, and I'll show you a table of those later, but if you can earn some of these certifications, you can actually get employment. You can actually go to employers and get into some of these jobs. Or you can transfer to a CSU or a UC to earn your bachelor's degree and then go to work, or you can continue on and get your master's. You know, and I got to tell you that a couple of these arrows, particularly the one between employers and community college and university and community college, should be two-way. Because, and the reason I say that is that there are many people that already have four-year degrees that come back to the community colleges to take these classes that will get them industry certification. I was on a webinar this morning, and one of the questions was, you know, it was a woman says, well, you know, my son just got his bachelor's degree in landscape architecture, and he wants to get into tech. He's thinking about cybersecurity. Should he go back and get a bachelor's of science in computer science? Because the problems with some CSUs is that you can only, they won't let you come back and get another different bachelor's degree. And the response was, hey, just go to a community college and start taking some of the courses. And while you're looking at how you're going to get around this issue of your CSU allowing you to go for a second bachelor's degree, hey, you can start earning industry certifications and get the work experience, and maybe go get your master's once you have these certifications and you have taken some of these courses that are transferable. Because I got to tell you, that's the other thing too that a lot of people don't know. Our cybersecurity courses in our community colleges, one of the challenges that we've had with transfer of some of our cybersecurity programs is that they are junior, senior level courses in the four-year schools. Okay, so that tells you something, that the community colleges, our cybersecurity programs are a lot more advanced than some of the four-year college programs out there right now. So again, these arrows can go multiple ways. This is just to show you that there's pathways here. And we'll talk a little bit about, you know, also our programs are very linked with workforce development. And so one of the things that all of our community colleges have are programs around internships, work-based learning, where we're connecting students to paid and unpaid apprenticeships. We're, you know, giving them opportunities to get e-mentoring from professionals, or visiting sites in the employer. Well, we can't do that now during COVID, but we used to. Right now, what I'm doing is I've been having industry leaders speak virtually at some of the classes. But anyway, we really try to work with getting you some work experience while you're going to school. We call it earn and learn.
So Olivia, there was a question on clarification. I think you're getting to it with the industry pathway certifications, because there is sometimes some confusion of, do you go and get a degree, and you know, 2-year or 4-year degree in information computer technology, or is it just as advantageous to get industry certifications at the community colleges? And I'm going to leave the answer up to you, but I'm assuming it depends on where you're at in your life and what your goals are.
Yeah, like when I was talking before about the people that already have 4-year degrees, well, maybe they've been out there working, doing something entirely different. Maybe they've been in finance, or maybe they were a business analyst and now are starting to be interested in risk and information security. Those kind of folk will go come back and get the industry certifications, right? However, if you are thinking about transferring, maybe you're coming out of high school and you just want to go to community college to save the money for the 2 years. But let me tell you, you know, you can save a whole lot of money, even though you've got plans to go to a 4-year school. Hey, save your money the first 2 years, go to a community college and transfer. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, you can take some courses that will give you, that make you attractive to industry while you're going to school, where you can maybe work part-time or maybe get some experience working while you're on the way to your 4-year degree. So yeah, that, I mean, it really does depend on where you're at. But we have, I think the average age of community college students is in their early 30s, because so many of them are coming back to what we call to reskill. So there's just, that's why the pathway, this pathway looks very linear, but it can go in so many different directions. So here's just some examples. I know you can't read this, but I just want to show you that these are the certifications that you can get for Google Cloud. Okay, all right. You can, you know, the bars are the certifications, and it shows the topics under the certifications. Oops, I went the wrong way. These are the Amazon Web Service certifications. So you can start by being foundational, by being a practitioner, and then you can move up to be an architect. That's the person, and the developer. Those are the folks that actually create cloud applications. Or you can be a solutions architect. You've got all of these different certifications to be recognized by industry. CompTIA. CompTIA is probably one of the most well-known IT industry certifications, and it starts real basic. In fact, one of the things I'm really working on is that I would like to see the CompTIA IT fundamentals taught in the high school, so that I mean, before you come out of high school, you've taken the classes that you need to sit for your IT, CompTIA IT fundamentals, and maybe even the A+. The CompTIA A+ certification is what most people who want to do help desk support. So if you got a CompTIA A+, you can go apply for a tech support job. So I talked a little bit of, someone asked a question, I want to go through an example of each one of these jobs, how many, you know, units it takes, and what kind of, what the demand is like. We talked a little bit about UX UI, and the UX UI design is where web design has evolved. We used to talk about, you know, wanting to be a website developer or a website designer. Well, you can't do that unless you've got some experience with UX UI, because that is so important now. Okay. The demand is steadily increasing because, you know, everything, you know, technology is so ubiquitous, and we access it all through the internet. So the demand is going up. And they're sometimes called, you'll hear the term front-end developer. Okay. And so our programs will have that name, either front-end developer or user experience web design certificate. And I just picked one randomly. I think this one was from Foothill College, and it's 25 units, so it's going to take you, you know, probably about, you know, a year and a half to finish it. But it's very extensive because it starts with those basics around web design, and then it goes into the UX UI. And I should probably be clear, why is it called front end? It's called front end because you're only concerned with what the user sees, right? The back end is all that stuff that takes care of the business or the request or the function that you're asking for. So for example, if you go to Amazon and you order something on Amazon, what you're seeing is the front end. The back end is what's going to actually fulfill that order, right? That's called back end. So there's front end design, back end design. UX UI is about the front end. But this particular example is of like one of the programs in the community colleges. If you want to build, this is where we talk about application and software developer. And this is the one this is just the one of the 5 areas where it is recommended that you go the computer science, BS and computer science pathway. Because first of all, doing software development, you know, it takes a lot of understanding of not only coding, but how to interface with databases. You do have to have some understanding of design, because when you're coding, what you're doing is touching so many different things. If you're developing an application, there's so many different things that your code has to interface with. So that means you have to have a wider perspective of the technology that you're using. The great thing about our programs in the community college is that most of them have an associate's degree for transfer for computer science for the CSUs. So again, I tell you, save some money. If you're interested in wanting to go for your computer science degree at a CSU, save some money and do the first 2 years of the community colleges. And at the same thing, you may, again, same as I was saying before, you may learn enough during the first 2 years to earn some certifications or get some work experience where you actually have an advantage once you get your BS degree. But when you get this AST degree, you are guaranteed a spot as a junior in the CSU computer science program. I talked a little bit about the business information professional. This is a use example. I know a lot of you have heard about Salesforce. Salesforce, if you haven't, at least you know they got that tower downtown San Francisco, and that should tell you if they can lease a tower, then this is a big application. There are so many people out there that use Salesforce right now, and they need people that know how to use it, install it, support it, administrate it. Okay. There are 6 courses that can be completed in 1 year, and you are ready to sit down and with some additional prep courses to become a Salesforce administrator. That means you can be the person that works for, that works for, like, say for instance, we have I'm part of the Bay Area Community College Consortium. We are in the process right now of testing out a Salesforce-based application that we use for work-based learning. In other words, that we use to collect all the information about employers that want to give our students some maybe internships or some kind of work-based learning, or come talk to their classes. But we use it. I mean, it's everywhere. So again, if you're into wanting business and want to be the person that puts things together and supports an operation from this aspect, this is one of the programs that we offer. I talked a little bit about cloud computing, and everybody knows cloud because you've heard about Amazon Web Services. Or maybe you haven't, but I bet you've heard this. How many of you guys remember this commercial? How do they do that? And it is a commercial about Amazon Web Services. The app, all of the driver-based apps, like this commercial, it shows VRBO, Airbnb, all of them use Amazon Web Services. All of these app-based type of services. It's all either Amazon, and Microsoft has its version too. Microsoft, they're called Azure. But anyway, this is a very up and coming area. This is the example of Amazon for Amazon Web Services, but it's the same thing for Google Cloud. It's the same thing for Microsoft Azure, which is their cloud program, and there are others, but those 3 are the most well known. And so again, 12 units that's, 4 courses at a community college, and you can become an AWS certified SysOp administrator and get an entry-level position, and then continue to move yourself up. Maybe you continue to work for a while or take more classes and move up to be a architect, or the person that actually does the development. So you can keep returning for higher levels of certifications throughout your career. And as I showed you at the beginning, good pay. This is an example of the Google Cloud training. There are 10 modules. Talks about obviously the first one is, what is a cloud anyway? You start with building your platform, the Google Cloud platform, to build, how to use it to build apps, because that's what you're doing. You're building your app in the cloud. So this is an example of the Google Cloud course map. And then after you finish it, you have a capstone project where you actually demonstrate what you've learned. And finally, Protect, a cybersecurity support technician. This one too, with as little as 10 units, you can get that CompTIA Security Plus certification. And with a Security Plus certification, you are prepared to work in what's called a security operations center. And I've been to a couple of those. I think the one I was most impressed with was the one at PG&E. And you walk in there, and they're just monitoring not only the network and connectivity, because a lot of our utilities are connected via internet and controlled from certain parts of the organization. But PG&E's SOC, Security Operations Center, was basically, you're watching all these screens and what's happening on the network, and you're analyzing it. And there's lots of different software that's used for that. You may have heard about things like, Splunk and FireEye, and these are all, Malwarebytes, and all these are all software that most organizations that are making their business run over the internet have to have these security operations centers to keep track of what's going on their network, to keep track of any breaches, and people are always trying to break in, and they see this. But anyway, that Security Plus certification is what prepares you to get into a SOC. A lot of good entry-level opportunities for SOC experience. And then you can keep going and get a 2-year associate's degree while you're stacking up your certification. And most of these associate degrees for cybersecurity are called either cybersecurity associate or network security. But most of the colleges that I'll show you in the next slide have them. Oh, and just real quickly, we talked about stackable industry certifications. Here's just a couple of examples. Network Plus, you get that one. The next one is Linux, cybersecurity, cybersecurity analyst, pen tester, ethical hacker, a Cisco CNA, that is a network security certification. And then the AWS Cloud Practitioner also has cloud security fundamentals. You can take courses at several community colleges that will prepare you to earn these certifications. Okay, here are some of the colleges. Now, I just picked those that are in kind of like South Bay. I couldn't, there's no way I could put them all on here, but I wanted to show you, if you were interested in web development, De Anza has a really good program. And then, let's see, for cybersecurity, where's that one? They've got, I know Aloni has one, but I don't know, are they on here? Part of my thing is missing here. But information systems administration, those network security, enterprise security, those would be the ones that you would go for if you're interested in cyber. Computer science, if you wanted to get a program that transfers, De Anza has a really good program there. So does Hartnell. In fact, Hartnell has a really great program where they have partnered with CSU Monterey Bay, where you can earn your computer science degree in 3 years because they overlap the first year, the last year at Hartnell with the third year at Monterey Bay. That's called the CS&3 program. And so what the other thing that I want to bring yourself attention to real quick, was we only got 5 minutes here. I'm going to move on. I wanted to tell you about this website, bayict.org, because I want to leave just 5 minutes for any questions. The other things, this was just a little about our net lab. One of the things that we've been doing is all like the cyber camps. The cyber camps were using this net lab this summer. And all they had to do, any student can access it from a Chromebook and go right into the net lab and participate in the camp. So we use this all through our systems for our programs, and it's been really great because most of our ICT digital media programs have not been impacted because we were already online and using these resources. So if you have any questions, we have just put up a brand new website called bayict.org. It tells you about all of the different programs for ICT digital media. There's a student page, there's a faculty page, we have a partner page, and that's where we work with our employers and our workforce development. And then there's one page that has featured careers, and it goes into a lot more detail about our programs than what I offered here today. So if you have a chance and you want to know more about the other college, I only show, there are 28 colleges in the Bay Area, and I only showed you about 8 of them. So, if you want to look into other programs at other colleges, you could go to this site. So thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. We did have a couple of questions. This one goes to Alex. Alex, some people are asking, can we get, there's so much information, wonderful information Olivia gave us, and lots of very informative slides. Is there a way that they can get a PDF of the slides?
Yeah, I think I would have to get that from Olivia first, and then we'd be able to distribute it that way.
And I will send that to you, Alex, as soon as we're done.
Thank you, Olivia.
So that should answer those questions. I know that this is a question that comes up, Olivia, now with COVID and all of these industries coming, or all of these companies coming out with certifications, online certifications that are at a cost. The certifications that are offered at the community colleges, are they industry recognized since you are working directly with the industries as a regional director?
Well, let's differ there. The colleges have what they call certificates, right? So this gives you just kind of like, basically it's kind of heading toward an associate degree. So you can have a certificate, and you can earn certificates and then get your associates. The industry certifications, thanks for bringing that up, Joelle, because the courses, like when I tell you something takes 10 units or 3 courses to be ready, I say to be ready to earn a certification, you must then go to some place like Pearson VUE or whatever. You go to a testing center and you pay to take the test. Don't be overly concerned about that, because we have a lot of support in the community colleges to help you pay for those exams. If you've done well in the classes, in other words, you've been successful in taking the classes, we have partners that will help cover the cost of those certifications. Testing. It's a test you have to take.
Yes, thank you for clarifying this. Certificates in community college preparing you for certifications, which are industry recognized.
Right.
Sorry, Joelle, just really quick before the last few questions, just before people started leaving, I just wanted to put up the second poll, but please continue to ask or answer some questions while that's up.
Anything more?
There were no more questions in the Q&A. We do have 1 minute left. If anybody has a burning question that they want to put in the Q&A. as we said, these Olivia is going to get these slides ready to in PDF format so we can send out to all of the attendees so you have that information readily available. And we are going to continue to work with the regional directors at Santa Clara County Office of Education to do some informational workshops and webinars with our Santa Clara County school districts and high schools in particular. We are working in the Strong Workforce Development Initiative, which is looking at regional labor market information to drive the community colleges and the high schools in the pathways that we should be developing, so that when you as students finish these pathways, you can enter into that career with a lot of possibilities and opportunities to gain employment.
Great. Good poll.
Thank you all so much. It's 3 o'clock. Olivia, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. This was fun.